All right, welcome everybody to the Who's Got My Money session here at the 5th anniversary for Tech Alley. You guys excited to be here? All right, yes. Coming out to you, we have our own edition of the Who's Got My Money session, Western style, Mavericks, marketing and media, and how it relates to your fundraise, how it relates to you getting in the market. You guys feeling a little bit more like a gunslinger now? Yeah? A little more pumped up? All right. Well, lots of things for us to talk about today, guys. We're super excited. We've got some great guests that we're going to bring up. We're going to talk about, throughout this conversation, I want you to be thinking about the one thing that if you do this right, the one action, if you repeatedly do this over and over and over and over and over, it's going to lead you to eventual success, and you get a ride off on the unicorn with your partner of choosing into the sunset, and maybe you'll get to have your very own CD player. So, GTM and GTF. How many of you guys know what this is? We talk about GTM a lot. Man, this is a fundraising season, brother. Why are we talking about go-to-market? Because without go-to-market, you will never, ever, ever have a successful venture. Without go-to-market, you'll never have revenue. Without go-to-market, you don't know if you're building the right problem. You don't know if you're building something the market wants to buy. This is 80% of the challenge that you must overcome as a founder. I've learned this the hard way, being a VC, being an angel, being a private equity guy, building 2 fundraising platforms, now building my 3rd. And here's what I learned. 900 investors on a platform with 4,500 startups too long didn't read. Founders don't know what it takes to get to market. They think they can just skip the homework, they can just go into their little bat cave, and they can start building something and hope and wish and pray that clients and customers will notice them in their little garage and that they'll never actually need to leave the building. But instead, you must go talk to clients and customers before you build. You cannot know what your messaging is. You cannot know what your marketing is. You cannot know what your go-to market is. You cannot know what your plan is without talking to clients and customers first, especially in the age of AI. You need to recalibrate to the times of today. How many of you guys thought it was funny to see a CD in a music video, right? It's kind of crazy, right? Well, guess what? That's most of the technology most of you guys are building. It's becoming obsolete as we're watching the music video. AI is moving that fast, and so you cannot afford to build it and F around and find out. There's no FAFO that works in startups. You have to go talk to the clients and customers, not about what you built, but about what the problem is. Make sure that the solution that you intend to build matches the problem, and then you only build it once the clients and customers are saying, this is immediate, this is painful, I'll pay for it right now, I want to be on the wait list, here's my credit card. And guys, I'm telling you, this sounds so incredibly simple, and yet founders skip it all the time. We pulled in 850 funds with fresh capital ready to be deployed in the last year. I could have told you in any given week, 36 new funds across 17 billion in these regions. We made all of this data publicly available to founders. Guess how many founders got funded? Not that many. Why? Because you cannot pass go and collect $200 and skip this stuff. So this is the reason why go-to-market is more important than go-to-fundraise. The sweet spot that we focus on with our accelerators, our venture studio, our investing, our private capital network, is the sweet spot between go-to-market and go-to-fundraise. You can't know what your go-to-market, your go-to-fundraise is without your go-to-market. It's the most important part of your entire equation. So you're going to have 80% on the go-to-market side, 20% is your fundraising fluency capability, understanding how capital works, how do you stack it, how do you sequence it, and then also how do you build a capital network, which most founders do not have. And it's going to take you over a year to do that. So prepare yourself for that. Okay. I have a very good buddy I'm going to invite here to the stage here in a second. We're going to do one more slide. The field. Let's get calibrated on where we're at today. You want the good news or the bad news first? Which do you want?
Bad news.
Bad news. I'm going to give you the good news because I'm a gangster like that. All right. So the good news is that in 2026's first quarter in the United States plus Canada, go Canada, we had $253 billion in capital that was raised in the venture ecosystem market. What that means is those that professionally raise their hand and say, I'm raising capital, this is what's been raised. The number's actually much bigger than this, but that's a different presentation. This is very good news because this is a record amount. In the history of recording what professional investors have raised, this is the most money that's ever been raised in a quarter, ever. That sounds like great news, right? The bad news is most of it is going to startups that aren't you. Because you have not demonstrably, unequivocally, right in your face, unstoppably shown that capital should chase you because you're building something that the market absolutely wants to buy. I cannot say it enough, right? And so if you're a new fund manager, you're getting crushed right now. Raising money is very difficult for you because most of the money is going to somebody else. One last thing I'll mention. This is 3 times more capital than at the end of last quarter. It's a lot of capital. Okay, so that sets the stage of where we're at today. Mr. Levi McPherson, all the way from Florida, please come and join us up on stage. All right, guys, give us a round of applause for Mr. Levi. So Levi's background, he's going to spend a lot of time talking about marketing. You're like, oh man, why is a marketing dude up here? Well, the thing is that he turned around companies before. He went and bought companies. He's been a venture capitalist himself, an investor. It's not sexy, even though you guys think it is. And as of late, even though he's got a background in private equity and raising capital on the venture side, he has realized there's some magical things that can happen when you leverage client interactions, client conversations properly, whether it's through podcasting, which is what his invisible pitch session is going to be about, that's after lunch. You absolutely want to be there. It is the way that you should be handling all of your interactions when you're trying to verify and validate that what you're building is something that the market wants to buy. And he's been able to help many folks get their clients lined up while podcasting at the same time. Pretty crazy how that works. Mr. Levi, anything else you want to share about your background real quick before we hop in?
These are really my boots.
And that's really your belt buckle.
That is my belt buckle.
And you were under some duress to wear all this stuff. I was like, don't even come if you're not going to show up. Semi-cowboy. We grew up in the Mountain West. You grew up in Idaho. Yeah. I grew up in Utah, desert, mountain, all this. So it's good to get back into it. Okay, so GTM, we're going to talk about some really simple stuff. We're going to do some live use cases. You guys want to see some building and stuff in AI as well? Awesome, we've got that for you. So walk us through this.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Both mics.
All right, we're going to do both at the same time because I need to have twice as
Double
many.
gunslinger.
I need to have twice as many as Kurt over here.
Look at all these.
All right.
It's like I'm a cyber cowboy over here.
So first and foremost, so who's in the middle of a startup process right now? Okay.
That's all of you, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Already running, post revenue.
A few, nice.
Okay, excellent. Funded, anyone funded? Okay, a couple. Oh, we got a few that are funded. Okay, great. So I'm just curious in this group, who believes that the pathway to get access to customers or to get access to funding is to follow the traditional attention modality, right?
This is push.
Push. I'm going to put out content, or I'm going to, I'm going to be on the news. Maybe I'll spend a lot of money on the Super Bowl. Anyone doing any of those type of things today? Doing some of those things today? He was probably on the Super Bowl ad himself.
Yeah.
So who thinks that the attention economy is shifting? Why? If it is, because that was most of the room. Why is it shifting, and where is it going? You can talk.
In person, because everybody is exhausted with the digital world, is tired.
Okay, did anyone hear what she said? She said that people are exhausted with the digital world. Is that why?
It's in your face all the time, and it never goes away. It's draining.
Okay, so, anyone ever heard of a thing called AI?
MySpace?
Oh, MySpace? No, AI. So AI is actually part of this equation. So when we talk about getting access to capital, we need to think of it in two different veins. One, there's the people that are going to fund you. But the more important one that Kurt already highlighted is, who's going to pay you for your product?
Who's got my money?
Does that change? By the way, there is a such thing as AI, but has that changed? The equation that I, as a founder, starting a company, and I'm delivering a product, service, etc., that I still need to get access to dollars in exchange for that. That hasn't changed at all, right? So, what hasn't changed? What else hasn't changed? So I still have to do that. We know that if we've got a shrinking attention economy.
Well, there's a lot of money out there.
Okay. So what hasn't changed is we're still using dollars, hopefully, right?
There's a lot more.
Okay, so what else has not changed? And let me actually tell you why I asked this question. Anybody ever heard of a very small company called Amazon.com?
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it, right? Never heard of it. Jeff Bezos, at the beginning of the internet, early stages, before Al Gore invented it. Sorry, I had to throw that one out there. He was looking at the internet. It was being adopted at over 3,000% per month. And he loaded up his family. He went up to the Northwest. And he's like, I got to get in on this thing. It's pretty amazing. Now, most of the people at the time were doing what maybe some of you are doing right now. They're like, oh, something's new. That means I need to do things that are new, right? Innovative. Everyone ever hear claim that Segways will replace cars by our generation, like completely, right? Trying to do something new. Well, Jeff Bezos, this is the Bezos principle, he asked something counterintuitive. He said, what won't change? And specifically, he said, what won't change in the next 10 to 20 years?
This is so valuable when you're building a startup. You cannot count on many things, but being very clear about human behavior and how it hasn't changed and making sure you're clear on what's not likely to change can guide you as to the things that you know you can count on.
What did he choose to sell, by the way? Books. Because he thought those aren't going to change. Now, I've asked this question before, and Kurt alluded to it. What won't ever change? Human behavior. We have, depending on the source, we have a very, very, very long history of evolving to this point. Those things are not going to be reversed just because Anthropic, Open AI, or anyone else launches a new product. They're not going to be reversed just because robots can now do your dishes. Human behavior is a constant. You can rely on it. So when we're trying to build things that'll allow us to exchange value for value, and we ignore that part of the equation, that prevents us from finding the money. That makes sense? So what about humanity hasn't changed? You mentioned that we're tired, right? We want to connect on a human-to-human level. So Kurt threw out a big number there, right? It was like 254 billion or whatever it is.
$1 million.
You want to hear the bad news? The other bad news about that is most of that, it's usually about 80 to 90% of that is going to go to 3% of founding companies. 80 to 90%. So here's the question. How do those 3% get access to those funds in a way that you maybe haven't yet? They have relationships. That doesn't change. And here's the other dirty little secret about the difference between GTM and GTF. I've been a venture capitalist. I've run 6 funds. Got hit up all the time, and people would ask us, like, "Hey, I need capital." And Kurt knows this one.
Excuse me, sir. Can I have your number?
Right? What do you think? What do you think they usually thought that they needed it for? Okay, some people thought it was for building product. You know what my favorite thing to hate about capital request? So we need $2 million. Okay, why do you need $2 million? Well, we've been working on this for 2 years, and most of us haven't been paid yet. Like, wait. Rewind. You're telling me you want $2 million of capital so you guys can write yourself $100,000 paychecks. No, thank you. Pass. So here's the dirty secret about that line between GTM and GTF. You take on capital not to start something. You take on capital to accelerate something. If you're not already in the game...
You start the fire, capital is the gasoline.
Yeah. If you're not already in motion. So that means it really does depend on go-to-market.
Guys, I'll say this. Software, as you know it today, software as a service as it's been.
Oh boy.
It is changing. We have a OG Silicon Valley guy that comes down here a lot. I was just with him in San Francisco for a week. And he likes to say that software is going to infinite value and zero cost. Because it's zero cost, you can use it for anything, there's infinite value. That should scare you as a founder into understanding that at this point, if AI is flattening product, which is a fancy way of saying it's now making it much easier to build, it's no longer a moat, it's not going to protect you, then the only thing is go-to-market. It's always been the thing, but now it's the only thing. Meaning it's your ability to go out and get distribution. And so before you, I mean, it's crazy to me that if I'll ask a founder, how many people have you talked to? They're like 5. And I'm like, cool, you just committed the next 10 years of your life and you're scared to go talk to people and get rejected or to hear their feedback. Most founders build a product looking for a problem to solve. They have it backwards. It needs to be find the problem, verify, validate the problem, talk to 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, 500 people. Do the work and de-risk on the front end before you go and ask a bunch of capital players to invest their capital. Here's the secret. Capital chases a return. Capital chases something that the market wants to buy. That's how it works. Most of you guys are chasing after capital. You need to get capital to chase after you. We ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Okay. The next one is, what has changed and will likely continue to change?
This should be a big one, guys. Just raise your hand if you got one or shout it out.
Because software is easier to build, it's more about providing a service.
Okay.
So instead of software as a service, it's service as software now.
Yeah,
You guys
flip.
understand? That's what AI is. It's a consumption model.
What-
And it does more for you than just, it's a dashboard that you look at and you can connect stuff. That was a great model, but now it's not going to be the model.
key word there is easy. What's going to continue to change is everyone's going to constantly looking for something that's going to make life easier.
Okay, so she talked about easier, right? So think of the metaphor here. You're a farmer. You use a pick and a shovel, and one day a tractor shows up. Are you going to continue to use the pick and the shovel if you're smart? You are not. So today we have I don't know who mentioned AI, technology, coding. What else? Quantum physics. Who said that? Yes.
So something I'll suggest to you guys is that I think a founder's job is to take in feedback and iterate and then execute. Feedback, iterate, execute as a cycle. And those cycles are getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Meaning that the market and thus the investors expect you to do more with less earlier on. So the market is going to prize, as it always has, but will at even greater regard now, those founders that can take in feedback and iterate very, very quickly. They can adapt very, very, very quickly. Guys, what it used to take, OpenAI got to 100 million users in a month.
Yeah.
We've never seen something grow that fast. Are you guys paying attention to how fast Claude is taking on MRR, monthly reoccurring revenue? They're breaking records, right? So we're going to start seeing, I've been saying we'll get the rise of the $1 billion, one solo founder, cool, who cares? There's other cooler things that are actually happening, but all of it goes back to feedback cycles are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And so you can expect that to not change in that it's going to get faster, but you can expect that it's going to force a lot of change in that. And you're going to have these little Indians on a desert floor, and I don't say this diminutively. I tell founders all the time that want to complain in the United States, the person that you're competing against has nothing to lose. They're on a dirt floor now in India, and they're going to kick your ass because this is the only option for them. You have to understand that. That's what you're competing against. The tooling is happening so fast. And whatever you think that AI can do today, it is nothing to what it'll be doing in 2 years. Guys, let me give you a stat. 13% of the population is using AI. This is not to say using it well. 13% is using it. It's like 1% that's using it well. So think about this. 70% of the United States is really unsure and is scared of AI. How do you think we're going to do against our Chinese brothers and sisters when they're flip-flopped? 70% of them are in favor. They're not scared of it. They're going to lean into it.
Yeah.
They're a little younger to come into the benefits of capitalism. Look at what's happened to their middle class. They went from not having one ever for 4,000 years to now having one in the last 30 years. How do we compete with that many people using AI and looking at it as something that'll change their lives when we're scared of it and we're not using it? Whatever you think you know about how much you're using it, you need to spend more time on it. It is a force multiplier.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think that everybody needs to seriously really be thinking about. Just using it to, most people use it like Google.
Yep.
They're not using it to really become a second brain and to allow them to do heavy lifting, and then you make the decisions. You're still the strategist. You're still the psychologist. You're still the marketer. All that.
Anyone hiring AI agents onto your, there he is, right? So we actually name them, right? We're building AI agents to work inside of our org. Now here's the thing about that. Does that mean that we're replacing humans? No, we're amplifying. I want to go back real fast because the brother said quantum physics. Yeah. Let me explain why that's such a critical thing for what is changing and what is about to change. We are in the middle of a convergence of multiple technologies, everything from AI to robotics to IoT, so the Internet of Things, quantum physics, blockchain, and so on and so on. And what's happening now is, it used to be, so we had an information economy, we had an attention economy. Now, intelligence is becoming commoditized. So what's going to occur next is you're going to see massive breakthroughs in science, in knowledge, in capacity, in opportunities to do things that we never even imagined before. So if we don't recognize that when we say, hey, what's changed and what's going to continue to change, the reality is no matter who you are, you will not be able to predict precisely what the world looks like 10 years from now. You can't do the Bezos principle in the exact same way. Does that make sense? Yep. So you have to have that anchor of what hasn't changed, but you also have to look at, all right, I don't know for sure where the puck's going. What I need to do is I need to create the world in my image. Instead of waiting for, Bezos or anyone else to tell you what to do, this is the time and the opportunity for you to create value in your own image.
So I'll take this next one for a minute here. What will never change? This will change as time goes on, but guys, a human being is deciding to write you a check. They're deciding to write you a check when they want to hire you for their business, they're a client, they're a customer. They're deciding to write you a check if they're going to invest with you. Human beings are not making super, especially in the venture world, they're not making super data-driven decisions yet when it comes to allocating check money into these projects. And I'm going to say, in most of our lifetimes, I do not think we will be around by the time all of the decisions for capital to get allocated are decided by an AI. I don't think that's going to happen overnight. Here's why I say that. Even though venture is disproportionately responsible for the GDP of the majority of the growth of the countries of the world, like, just so you guys understand, like 10 companies in the United States account for, if their own economy, it's the third largest economy in the world. This is how powerful startups are, even though they get small portions of capital relative to everybody else. Private equity is much bigger, real estate's much bigger, blah, blah, blah. You have a question really fast? Oh, yeah. So what I was going to say is a human being is making an emotional decision to invest in you. They're making a decision because they like you, they trust you, they like your story. And they rationalize it through, oh, here's the traction. I knew I was right about this founder. Oh, they went and did the work, they did the hard thing, they did the phone calls, they racked up a huge list of people that are interested. So that's never going to change, I don't think, in our lifetime. Guys, I've been doing underwriting for lending and all of this. Yeah, we've got some credit cards that get automatically, oh, cool, their credit, great. But very few products in the money world. This is how outdated venture is. This is the whole reason we built fundraising platforms, is because I want to see automation, streamlining, simplifying. What takes a year should be taking 3 months to raise. It shouldn't cost several hundred grand. It should be this thing that's really, really simple. Did you have a question?
Yeah, related to that. So
yeah,
we're talking about a fund, and that's exactly what they said. They said, we never invested in a company as early stage as yours.
Yep.
But we need to. And so, can you comment a bit about how, that private equity side is adjusting as well?
Sure.
And how we can work in that?
Yeah, so question was, we've never invested in as early as you, but we need to. How they can adjust. Is it a private equity fund or is it a venture fund?
It's a private equity fund.
Okay. Yeah, private equity, classically speaking, does not do 0 to 1. Are you pre-seed or seed, or where are you?
We are seed.
Okay, if you're seed, yeah.
They usually do like 20 million.
Yeah, private equity, just in general, private equity does not invest in startups. They invest in cash flow businesses where the math is there, the discipline's there, and it's very easy for them to add to it, roll it up, add it to other companies, put money in. So it's more like the 0 to 5 has been accounted for versus the 0 to 1, which is the pre-seed and seed stage. However, as I've been saying for a long time, we're going to have family offices, private equity groups starting to act like venture, and you're starting to have venture groups that have gotten their butts handed to them, not being successful in investing, starting to be a little bit more like private equity where they're being a lot more careful. It's kind of like, what if a guy comes to a dating coach expert and he goes, how do I get this girl to like me? Well, that usually doesn't work. She either likes you and is attracted to you because of who you are as a man or not. The advice that a dating coach can give is this is what you can do next time you meet the field of women that are available to date. And so getting one private equity group without a lot more contextual information is difficult to do. However, they've given you one thing. So coming back to this, I think you could ask, well, what would need to be true? It's this private equity group. What would need to be true? What would you need to see? What would make you comfortable in making a decision where you know you need to be doing it, but you're still not doing it yet? And what they tell you might just be standard boilerplate bullcrap. After that, you want to ask a series of questions where you're like leaning in, and maybe they'll give you that. The other thing you can do that you don't even need their permission is just to stay on their radar, always be adding value, even if it's not directly something that serves you. Like, oh, I heard you needed this venture, blah, 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 I'm going to connect you. Or, oh, I heard you were really into this, I got you this. Or, hey, I want to ask you this question, I read your book. And then the other thing you can do is you set yourself apart. Everything in being a founder is a test. So are you giving updates where they see that in 90 days you're not in the same place you were before? And that incites the FOMO and the greed and that kind of stuff. Okay, your thoughts on what will never change before we move on. We got to keep moving.
All right, real fast on what won't ever change is that humans...
What will never change is founders will stop building crap. They want to serve the democracy.
Yes. Okay, so a couple things. Number one, humans will always make decisions based on what they need. Not just what they want, it's what they need. So if you're talking to a potential client, you need to answer that in your solution. And it needs to be an order of magnitude greater than the other thing that they're already doing or the next nearest competitor.
How many of you guys know what a switching cost is? It's an economics term for getting somebody to do something where the value is so, in their perception, so much greater than what they're currently doing. It can't just be a little bit, can't just be a lot of it. It needs to be so much greater. This is the reason why banks have such crappy customer service. They know that switching costs are very high with banking. You got all of your integrations, your bill pay, all this stuff. Once you start with a bank, they know they're going to have you for 6 or 7 years. And this is what drives a lack of innovation, because if they were scared of losing you all the time, they might act a little bit differently.
Now, I live in Florida, and there's gators there. And I know they look scary, but do you know what their competitive evolutionary advantage is? They're lazy. They're just frogs with teeth. You know the other thing I know about most founders?
They're lazy.
Yes. It's not that we're...
End of notes.
End of notes. It's that we don't... 94, it's roughly 94%.
They just want the Instagram pictures.
Right.
They just want the LinkedIn post. They just raise money. They don't actually want to do what's necessary. They don't actually want to have to become something else. I think the most important question a founder can ask is, what am I willing to do and who am I willing to become in order to cross that finish line in the way that I imagine it? Founders never ever ask themselves this. They never come up to me and say, do you think you're going to make it? Never, ever, ever, ever. Founders, it's always about their project. I'm like, you might be the thing that's not good enough here. Now, here's the cool thing about you not being good enough. That can shift. That can change. You can bring in resources. You can bring in other gunslingers, right? But this is the thing founders don't ever, ever ask. When we do these fundraising summits where we have funders from all over the world, and I say, when's the last time a founder asked you if they're going to make it? They say never, ever. That's crazy. The one thing you could do to set yourself apart is to build the kind of relationships where you can ask them about how you show up versus the venture itself. Because the venture is not the X factor, you are. There is no venture without a driver, without a pilot, without a visionary. Did you finish on that one?
Well, I just want to throw out a stat for you guys real fast. It's roughly 90% of founders do not interview more than 3 vendors before they choose to double down on whatever it is they're trying to build. those that get funded have talked to everyone.
How does that terrify any of you guys? The thought that as an investor, put your investor hat on for a minute, okay? And ask yourself, somebody comes to you and their answer when you ask them how many people, and if you guys come to Pitch Kung Fu every Thursday, 9 a.m., we have over $1 billion in the room. Founders come in live, pitch capital, it's online, we're tough. If I ask you how many clients you've talked to and it's not hundreds, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You're not willing to do what is required to be a founder today. Because you don't know how to serve them, because you don't know them. You can't finish their sentences. You can't describe their pain to them so acutely that they want to give you their credit card. And the customer and the problem always coming first is the reason why Amazon is as large as it is. How many of you guys are addicted to the fact that you could order something and it's there the same day or tomorrow? Right? Customer always comes first. You don't like the product? Cool, we'll take it back, even if it's at a loss. It's incredible, the customer service.
I just bought a car using Carvana. Never had to talk to a sales rep. It just showed up, and it was pretty.
But guess what? They did not grow the company and start the company never talking to any of their clients and customers. They had to get to a certain point before some of this could be automated. Okay, you ready to do the thing with the laptop and all that?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Mr. Michael, come up here. We have a local marketer from St. George, Utah. We do events together. His name is Michael Spencer. He's going to tell you in the simplest words he possibly can what he's building. And then we're gonna do some live AI stuff. You ready for the test? You're a marketer, so impress me now.
Absolutely. This hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I am building an e-commerce product. I started on Amazon. I've been selling on Amazon for 12 years, and I love Amazon. The problem with Amazon is they are horrible. They love customers. They don't necessarily love sellers. And so on Amazon, you can make so much money so fast, and you can lose the entire business just like that. I like to joke that some guy in India has a fight with his wife, and then I'm out of business forever. There's so many things that you cannot control on Amazon. However, if you control the channel, then you can control your future, basically. For example, I've had well over 100,000 transactions on Amazon, email list of zero. Zero. If I ever got in a financial problem and I owned the email list, I could have sent one email and made $500,000. But I missed that because I was selling on Amazon. And so that's what I'm doing right now, is transitioning to my own e-commerce platform off of Amazon so that I can control my future.
Awesome. Okay, Levi, take us away.
All right, we're gonna. First of all, before we jump in, no, that's cool. I'll just lean in. So we're gonna go through this with Michael. Michael's a professional marketer, but what we want to do is we want to leverage the tools that we've got available to us. I just want to know who's actually using heavily AI. And actually, let me do this. We're gonna go number of platforms that you're integrating into your solution. So whether or not the foundational one is ChatGPT, OpenAI, etc. So raise your hand if you're using at least one AI platform. 2, keep them up. 3, keep them up. 4, keep them up. 5, keep them up. 6, 7, 8, 9, one person, 9.
All right.
All right. So for those of you that made it past 5, first of all, actually I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite AI platform and what do you use it for?
That is a good question. It depends on what I'm trying to do, because each of them do different things. I'd say the one that I use the most right now is probably Hormozi's AI tool.
Okay.
Yeah, I use that more than any other AI tool at all, because I do marketing all day, every day, and it is the best of all of them. I know that's not very practical for most people, but that's what I do.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Clock code.
Yes, okay.
And well, within anti-gravity.
There we go. All right. So I'm kind of a freak. I spend about, just personally, even before I started my venture, I spend about $1,000 a month on AI subscriptions. I subscribe to everything because I want to try everything. But we do full integration.
I like when we were talking about why you decided to be using all these tools, because don't get them just to have them. You said, I want to make sure that I'm a visionary founder.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to be ahead of the curve, if you want to build the world in your image, then you've got to be in the game. You're going to be using the tools. So what I want to do is I want to take a business challenge. So he mentioned Claude Code, but let's just use Claude Cowork for this real fast. We'll do a Cowork session. We'll switch over here. We'll do a new task. Anyone who, wait, by show of hands, how many people are using Claude Cowork on your desktop? Okay, so maybe a third of the room. So let me just, I'm going to do a quick demo on this. But we're gonna go through and solve a business problem. But before I do, I want to explain to you why Claude Cowork, I think, is one of the most critical tools. Claude Cowork and Claude Code are probably the most critical tools that you'll be using as a founder right now. For one, it gives you access to data. It integrates your data. I remember years ago I had a tech company, and everybody was talking about interoperability, like whether or not your television could talk to your phone, could talk to your washer and your dryer. What Claude does, specifically Claude Cowork, is it gives you platform interoperability. So for example, just to show you this real fast, if I go into my settings, and this is, by the way, this isn't even my corporate account. This is just my personal account. If I go to the connectors, you will see that I'm already connected to all these other tools. Looks like base 4.4 failed. We've got to reconnect that bad boy. So let's go back. Let's run a quick session. Business challenge that we want to solve.
Making ads.
Making ads. All right, here we go. Specifically.
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads for what?
For mouth tape. Beast tape. Try beasttape.com.
Okay, here we go.
Good ads take a lot of time, just so you know, for comparison. If this works, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so guys, using AI is one of those things where the better you get at using it, obviously the better the output. You can't just put garbage in and expect garbage out. You're going to get garbage out is what I mean to say. So getting really fluid with this to where you know how to get it to do what you want. How many times do you guys have your AI make a mistake and you don't catch it? And they do make mistakes, a lot. But it's certainly very worthwhile the vast majority of the time, especially if you're paying attention. So something I do want to say is there's a skill set to this, and there's a skill set to getting into market. There's a skill set to talking to your clients in a way where they don't feel like they're being pitched and you're really trying to be empathetic to their needs and wants. There's a skill set to fundraising. I think many of you guys understand this intuitively, but at the end of the day, you don't take the time to really go master it. And you would never think that you don't need sales in your business, marketing in your business, operations in your business. But many of you think fundraising is some random afterthought that you'll get around to when it's time. You have to be very anticipatory when you're going to fundraise. You must do it many months in advance in order to really be prepared. And you do yourself a favor by making sure you're building something of worthy attention by going out and getting clients and customers, interested in it. All right.
Here we go.
You ready?
We are ready.
Okay.
So,
It's real fast. Probably noticed, I don't wait for Claude to finish doing its task. It can run multilateral task. So in other words, it'll show you its thinking while it's going, but I wanted it to know, because I've already built my models inside of Claude, to leverage my IP, my intellectual property, the things that I've done to scale multiple companies. My buyer code system is responsible for billions of dollars of sales. So I don't want to just trust Claude as a system by by itself for general knowledge. I want specific applied knowledge. So on this one, we're going to hit a couple of these. We're definitely going to use Resonant IQ, which actually is a system that I developed that tracks how the brain processes information and tries to leverage neurochemicals in the process of creating the written language. Let's go buyer code. Oh, thank you.
Both, yeah.
All right, here we go. We're going to go coherence motivation, which is basically what I said before. We are all driven. We're coherence-seeking beings. When I said earlier, we're trying to do things to fulfill on needs, I've built these models in. So when you're setting up your AI solutions, don't just leave it to chance and trust that the folks over at Anthropic know precisely what will win for you in business. Build the models into your solution. Oh, it even asked for the explanation. Oh, perfect. Let's do this bad boy. Okay, now this is a question for you. Do you want just direct response purchase, lead gen, strategic partner co-branded, or brand awareness?
Direct response purchase.
All right, he wants number one. And then how many ads and which formats should we deliver?
What are the options?
We got 3 single image ad concepts, 2 short form video ad scripts, 1 carousel, or a full launch set.
Is there a yes option?
That would be the full launch set.
Okay. there
You guys see how the level of intentionality and prep work going into it determines the quality of the output?
Who is this? Oh, yeah. So I let it know contextually, by the way, because I am very intentional about not using my AI solutions for general Google search. I'm not going to ask it where the best place is to eat or what gift I should buy my wife. So I gave it a contextual clue to let it know that this is for a strategic partner that I'm working with, as opposed to, hey, by the way, all my other ventures that are part of this, you now need to include this as a venture to spin up. So that's why it's asking specific. So we're going to do this. No. We'll go with the partner is confidential. Okay. So now it pulled the most relevant intellectual property based models that I've developed to start building this. And it's going to spend some time. You'll notice down here at the bottom, I am using the most tokens you can use because I'm using Opus.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, do we want to take a break and talk to Bashir while this is doing its thing? Because we don't have a ton of time.
We can, yeah.
Okay.
All right, while this is thinking, we're going to pull a founder down and we're going to actually do a little bit of workshopping. So Mr. Bashir, come down here, please. Mr. Bashir here lives in Las Vegas. He exited his last company for $25 million, and he's taken on a new challenge. One of the things here, you sit next to Mr. Michael here, who you now know. One of the things you got to remember, guys, when you're building a company is when you had your exit, it does not mean that that same playbook is going to serve you today. I believe his exit, I'm very happy for him, but it was at the end of an era. The thing that he's now building and he's figuring out is now causing him to rethink and to reapproach how he might get to this next exit, which his goal is 9 figures. Okay, Levi, real quick, you want to lead the discussions here on questions? I know too much about this, so there you go.
Here we go. All right, hand the man a microphone. So we're playing Who's Got My Money. So first and foremost, I would like to know who writes your checks?
Right now, I'm funding my new venture.
Okay, you hear that? So one of the places he got the money was from his own bank account. Okay. Your product or solution, who pays for your product or solution?
What do you mean?
So tell us about your product, your venture. What is it that you've built?
Very, very succinctly.
Oh, okay. It's really from my experience from my previous company, which we used to do B2B e-commerce solution. We used, our bread and butter was going to trade shows. So we used to go to 10 to 12 trade shows a year. And hundreds of my customers did the same as well. So after the exit, many of my customers encouraged me to build and always kind of an always open networking or a trade show. So our main problem was we go to trade show, we spend 10, 20, 30, $40,000 in 3 days with buying a booth and sending people, a hotel, everything. And after the show, we don't feel that we have maximized our investment.
Okay.
And say, okay, well, why not build a platform where we have an always open networking? And just one quick example, one of the trade shows we used to go to is called ASD Market Show. And 10 years ago, it was about 3,400 exhibitors. Just happened a few months ago, only 1,700 exhibitors. So there is a big problem with attrition from exhibitors and attendees. So with netu.ai, that's a new company name, is enabling, let's say we partner with the trade show organizers to use Netu to, maybe I don't want to physically exhibit, but I want to be present online. I can do that, number one. And number two, I can also have access, not solve the attrition problem for both attendee and exhibitors.
So ask him the question again.
Okay, so actually, I want to ask the audience, based on what you just heard, who has this money? Who's going to write the check to Bashir for NetU? You said
Netu.ai.
NetU?
Not to fund him, but to be a client or
Who's going to
customer.
write the check? Who has this money? So, okay, so he said event organizers. Would that be accurate? The
Yeah,
person
very accurate. Yeah.
hosting, okay?
Organizer, yes.
Okay, so the organizer, okay. Now, anyone else have his money? So we heard, yes, he's definitely self-funding. The consumer, okay. So the consumer might have his money. That might be part of the model.
Exhibitors.
Who did you say?
The event exhibitors.
The exhibitors. So that's what I heard, was the vendors. I heard that he used to be a vendor, right?
Right,
Vendor.
yes.
He would spend $40,000 going to an event, and at the end of the day, he didn't feel that he got $40,000 plus ROI based on the event. Correct?
Yeah, we feel we did not maximize. We could have done more.
Okay.
So that's yeah. Sometimes we get our ROI, yes, but we could have done more if we are using the right tools.
Okay, cool. So, of those three potential people that have your money, besides the fact that we know you have some of your own that are funding, so I think over here we heard the attendees of the event, we heard the vendors, the people that were just like you that are out of the booth, and then I heard someone else say the event organizer. Which ones are paying checks right now for NetU?
We did not yet officially launch. We're doing a soft launch
Okay.
right now. So I'm working with Kurt, so potentially on letting organizer know. So we didn't go yet after organizers, but right now it's a pre-revenue. If that's
Okay, pre-revenue.
Yes.
It
Perfect.
has passed the mic back.
Okay, awesome. So if it's pre-revenue, if we go through kind of the exercise we just did, so what hasn't changed in the event space, what's changing, and then of course what won't ever change. So I don't imagine it, because you guys are in Vegas. I'm from St. Pete, Florida. Like,
Okay.
this is like the event capital of the nation, maybe the event capital of the world, and that's probably an accurate statement. Right? I think, Kurt, you were saying on the drive down, you've attended like 400 plus events. Like, what hasn't changed about events, and who potentially has his paycheck?
Well, networking is the heart of all the events, so enabling networking opportunity.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And many people maybe cannot afford to spend $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in 3 days. So at least event organizer has an option to allow somebody maybe in Africa or China or maybe underprivileged company to also participate part of the event because of NetU, for example. So that's the idea, is that it not only solves the attrition problem, but it also provides opportunity otherwise is lost to the organizer.
Okay. What is the so I know you said your pre-revenue. What is the price of your offer? So are you selling it to the vendor?
Yeah, we're selling it to event organizers right now.
Okay, so the owners of the actual event, the ones that put it on, kind of like we're at Tech Alley, right?
Yeah, Tech Alley worked with Josh, and they're using NetU they're using one portion of NetU, which is the event part. Not yet the networking. We're working on getting the networking part, but Tech Alley is using NetU.ai right now for their event.
Okay.
And so on. But so I'm working with few early adopters, if you want to call them.
Yes, you betas. You gotta have betas.
Yes. So to do that, but so event organizers, association, membership organization, trade show organizers, and so on. So there are some low-hanging fruits and some high-hanging fruits. Some of them are short sales cycle, some of them are longer sales cycle. So we need to balance it, and this is a big challenge for me, the pricing as well. Right now, anybody can start for free, and so on.
Which might be part of the problem, but
Maybe, yes.
Anyone run events? Okay, a couple people do run events. So, okay, going back to kind of what we talked about, these are the people that you ask, not just what are your pain points, but what would you pay to solve that pain? What would you pay to remove this thing that's keeping me from succeeding? Because guess what? Just like you're on a gold hunt to find out who has your money, they're trying to find money as well.
Yeah.
So if what your solution does, if genuinely what it does is unlocks access to them, to the people that have their money, they will give you their money.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to keep moving. So we're going to cover more of this in the session at the Invisible Pitch session. You guys definitely need to be at that. Let's see the finale.
Let's see what happened here.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
Kurt. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see the big finale here.
Right, let's skip this bad boy. Let's see if it finished. It is literally still building a solution for you. All right, if you notice on the right, these are all the tasks that it's running concurrently.
Tell me that's not cool, guys.
So also, you notice there's a contextual one. My core system that I built years ago called the buyer code. So every single individual, when they make a purchasing decision, you follow your own individual strategy. I call it a buyer code. It's like a combination to the lock. It looks like that skill has not been trained into my personal one here. But look at this plot twist. So it didn't know it was for not snoring. It thought it was like athletic tape. That's fun.
Okay, so before we move on from this, what do you think the output of this is likely to be? Here, switch this with me.
All right.
So in other words, what do you think the output of this is likely to be, since we're going to have to move on?
So what it's going to do next is it's going to run through basically human psychology. It's going to pressure test all of his potential ads on what will actually cause engagement. So pattern interrupt. It's going to, because it now knows that it's men that have a snoring problem, and maybe it's men with beards like us, then what it's going to do is it's going to determine what will actually unlock those chemicals in the brain to speak to us directly. And then it's going to deliver an entire folder with everything that he needs to do. Now, I will tell you this on an avid user viewpoint, and this might be counterintuitive, but the first packet that comes out, I will most likely take the entire packet dump it in 4 or 5 other AI solutions, and challenge the shit out of it.
Love it. Because AI tends to be too nice.
Like, whatever it tells me, I may or may not agree with it. And here's the other thing that everyone must know. AI has a technology evolutionary path, not a human path. You are still the expert in this conversation.
Yep.
You still know what it means to be human, and it doesn't. So your input matters. Don't just take it at face value, and please do not write copy with ChatGPT.
We can always tell. Okay, so real quick, if you guys want to connect with any of these individuals, right here, Mike's going to explain what he's got for you here. And then, of course, this, I can't remember where this goes for Levi, but go ahead, Michael.
All right, so in addition to selling mouth tape, I do advertising for local businesses, and so the most important thing that you can do in any business is to have an unbelievable offer. If your offer is so good, it almost doesn't matter what the ad looks like, and so if you go there, I will redesign your entire front-end offer for $1.
That's freaking awesome. He's very, very good at what he does. His product, when it launched, did 30 grand its very first month. Levi, what's up on yours? Do you know?
I am not sure, but it's probably a contact.
No, that's your LinkedIn. That's what that
Oh,
is.
that's my
Cool.
LinkedIn.
So I don't need to explain that one. You guys seriously come to the Invisible Pitch session later today. You're going to love it. Levi is going to live do the Invisible Pitch with Mr. Bashir here. We're going to go a lot deeper into his go-to market and all of that. And then this PKFU, that is Pitch Kung Fu every single week, 9 a.m. Thursday, Pacific Standard Time. 4 founders coming and pitching 2 minutes and getting live feedback from GTM experts, ecosystem builders, funders, investors, family offices, government groups, all of that. It's pretty wild who we've got on there. We've had entire governors there. We have folks that run all of the government funding for their states. And of course, most importantly, experts that have done it before. So that goes to our calendar every single week. That calendar, you can subscribe to it, and it has all the sessions, all the Tech Alley, everything that's on there. All of our events we do in person and all the sessions we do online. Come on down and welcome to Who's Got My Money, guys. Come get a picture with us here as we wrap it up. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
I got one question.
Sure, go for it.
So you guys mentioned Jeff Bezos, and when he first started pitching to investors for his Amazon business, he came from more of a like an equal kind of atmosphere structure, and
Yeah.
then kind of grew into a e-commerce giant. When it comes to pitching, and people that are pre-seed or building their companies, or young entrepreneurs like myself, would you guys recommend coming with a more direct, like one kind of niche specific aspect when it comes to pitching, or that broad, or have that broad goal towards the end of your business or idea?
I would not. Broad means broke. Don't do that. But in general, we need to know more information. If you remember, you were at Pitch Kung Fu, I believe, and I was filling you in on some things, and you had this laundry list of things you were going to do. You need to write that first hit song first before you can do a greatest hits. So don't try to build more than one business at a time, especially as a startup founder. Don't have a bunch of very complicated operations you're trying to undertake. So, for example, if you have a roadmap of 4 or 5 things you think that are in the same business, make sure they make the sense to be in the same business. Start with the first thing first. And do that really, really, really well. Unfortunately, you'll confuse most people. Most products that people build, most companies they build need to be known for one thing. We were having a conversation with a very successful entrepreneur yesterday when it came to what was going on with their podcast they wanted to start. And I said, look, you can have all these things that kind of make up who you are and what your brand is, but there needs to be one thing that in the beginning that you're really known for. So that's what I would strongly recommend. Does that answer your question? Feel free to text more often about that, and we'll cover it. Go ahead, Tanisha.
Denise, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
Can we go back to the QR code thing, Scott? I've done one of them, and I want to do the other one.
Oh, sure, yeah, I'll bring it up. Okay, come on down, guys. We'll get a group picture. Thanks.